Oshkosh Media is government programming on GovTV, community programming on Life TV, and community radio on Oshkosh FM 101.9.
Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and municipal news, and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda.
Hello and welcome to the City Manager's Report. I'm your host, Andy Radig, joined by your City Manager for the City of Oshkosh, Mark Roloff. Thanks for being here, Mark.
Great to be here, Andy.
All right. Well, we've got a lot to talk about today and different things, and I'm new in this seat and glad to be here today.
Yeah, you sure are. But you know, you're not a stranger to everybody because welcome back really is more the saying we should have, because you worked with us for many years behind the scenes, behind the camera. But you left us about 4 years ago or so?
4 years ago.
Yeah,
right,
and so
right.
what were you doing between you leaving us and becoming the prodigal son returning home?
Well, I first went over to UW Oshkosh and worked in the radio, TV, film department over there for a little bit. And during that time, I stayed connected with community media here and served as the president of the Friends of Oshkosh Community Media for a little bit. So that was enjoyable. I was glad to be able to be part of that organization. And then most recently, I spent some time at the City of Wisconsin Rapids. I was their multimedia coordinator. So, but when there was an opportunity to come back home to Oshkosh and back to Oshkosh Media, I took advantage of the opportunity, and I feel very blessed and honored to be back here and sitting at the table with you today.
Well, I think we're going to have a lot of fun doing a City Manager's Report along with all the other programs you're going to be doing for us for Oshkosh Media. So looking forward to it, and so I guess we better get rolling, huh?
Right, I think so.
All right.
Yeah, let's get into it. We start off the first half of the show with some discussion about some community news and updates from the city. And then we'll come back in the second half of the show and talk about some highlights from the City Council agenda from the May 12th council meeting. So starting off today, we have a little bit of background. There's always some news relating to COVID-19. I guess what can we start off with here with some resources that are available?
The council has done several things over the past month to address both from an individual resident standpoint as well as businesses. With respect to businesses, we've partnered with Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation, and we've created what we're calling a City Emergency Response Loan Fund for small businesses. And over the course of the past few weeks, we've identified several of our tax increment districts, as well as some funds that we had with leftover TIF funds that have been put into a revolving loan fund, and we've been able to put together $1 million fund that is giving loans anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000 to help businesses with short-term cash flow needs that they might have. You know, a lot of businesses, the revenue's not coming in, but there's fixed costs that are still there that that they need to get taken care of, whether that's rent or utilities or some basic staffing to keep things going. And we knew that was going to be a challenge for folks, and anything we can do to help bridge that gap, we want to do.
Okay, all right. Resources available, so that's excellent. Another thing too, we've had some government meetings that have been on hiatus for a little bit, and it looks like we have some meetings coming up next week, the Redevelopment Authority and the Advisory Parks Board.
Yeah, a lot of our boards have taken, basically they took April off. But we recognize one of the things at this time of year, we're actually putting together the capital improvement program, and a board like the Advisory Parks Board, they give the Parks Director recommendations every year, and this is what the term we've used is continuity of government. We want to keep some of those boards and commissions going. With the Redevelopment Authority, we still have some things going on with the Menominee Nation Arena and our involvement with it, the Redevelopment Authority's involvement. So there are things we need to keep going. So we're going to put as many of those live on GovTV. We certainly don't want to discourage anybody from coming to the meetings if they really want to come. But if you just want to know what's going on, we have GovTV that's a resource for you to tune in and watch what's going on. Generally, we do these shows live, so you can see it when it's happening. But you can also look back on our YouTube channel later on to pick up on those things. And we just want people to know that while we're trying to get as much social distancing as possible, we still want people to be able to watch their government in action.
Absolutely. And those meetings will be available online as well, as Mark mentioned, and also on Oshkosh FM 101.9. So definitely have those available to folks out there. Speaking of other resources available, in lieu of City Hall being closed, there are still resources available for citizens to use and to utilize city services.
A lot of these things were available before the pandemic emergency, but a lot of people, I'd say, took them for granted. They enjoyed coming down to City Hall, and I can't wait for City Hall to reopen so we can welcome everybody back, maybe not with open arms, but welcome them back nonetheless. But our website has a lot of good information. There's so many things that we're going to be talking about that you can get things online, applications, answers to your questions, but resources that you normally would come into City Hall and see somebody face to face. We want to make that available as much as possible through online versions. You can always call us as well, but we want to make sure that, if you think of something at 6 o'clock at night, you can go look it up right then and there. You don't have to wait till City Hall opens in the morning. And those are the things we think are necessary to keep things going from an operational standpoint.
And also visit Oshkosh. The Convention Visitors Bureau has some resources available for folks.
As Wisconsin's event city, we certainly do a lot to promote resources out in the community. A lot of people think that the CVB is just about hotels and restaurants, but they really are a much greater resource, and they know that when we have visitors, people want to go shopping and things like that, and that business is effectively gone. And I know there's a lot of tendencies for people to want to go to shop online and things like that, but we have businesses that have great customer service, and the CVB has a list of all those businesses, and if they're not open, they'll tell you that too, so that you don't, you don't waste your time going down there. But of course, it does include restaurants that are open, and they've got great specials, and they've really adjusted to providing service, curbside service, where they're not necessarily used to that. Not everybody was doing takeout, but now everybody's got to do takeout.
Right. It's major changes happening there. But looking down the road a little bit, Mark, what are we doing to prepare for when things eventually open up?
That's something that we know we have to prepare for, because right now we're still awaiting the Supreme Court decision, which will be any day or any minute now. But we also, the current order is the Safer at Home order expires on May 26th. So we're instructing departments to look for ways that we will slowly open up, how we can eventually open City Hall for face-to-face service. But we have to get precautions in there. We want to protect the public, but we also want to protect our employees. But meanwhile, keep using those online resources, because even after we open up, it'll be slowly opening up, and I think you'll find that some of these online resources are just as effective for whatever purpose you may need them for. If you're just looking for a quick answer, you might be able to look it up any time of day without waiting for 8 o'clock and calling City Hall. So keep giving those online resources a chance.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, the weather is kind of warming up a little bit, and we're getting back into the sidewalk rehab program a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about what's happening with that?
Well, a lot of people are concerned right now because during this time of year, you don't necessarily see the displacement or appreciate the displacement in the sidewalks. We're required by law to replace sidewalks when they reach either a certain displacement or they create a little settlement that can be a freezing hazard in the winter. So we've gone through and identified all those. And a lot of people don't necessarily see it with the naked eye, but if you get a little closer, like some of our video shows, you can see that there are areas that water can pool and create a hazard. If there's a displacement of more than a certain height, we have to replace those. People may not necessarily see them with the naked eye, but if you get a closer look, you'll see it. So we're trying to do that to protect the taxpayers from liability from getting sued. The city could get sued, a resident could get sued, and we want to make sure that we minimize those things. The council did take action to defer payment of special assessments for the 2019 sidewalk projects, and we'll see how this goes. You typically don't get billed for these for an entire year, so there will be a little bit delay, but this is not about aesthetics with sidewalks, it's really more about safety, so hope people understand that, and we have lots of information on our website if you want to learn more about it.
Okay, very good. Keeping people safe. Oshkosh Avenue Bridge, major project. Can you tell us a little bit about what you know, where the status of that is? I'm sure folks are interested.
Yeah, well, because you can't cross the bridge and it gets a little frustrating, but it is a project from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, but we get regular updates on them. And so far, the project is on schedule, even though it started very late. The painting is virtually complete, but the concrete work is what they're focusing on right now. As they had indicated, the bridge is open to navigational traffic between 8 a.m. and midnight. So boating traffic can get through as they need to during those hours. But the vehicular and pedestrian traffic is still not allowed. They seem to be on schedule for a mid-June opening, and we're going to keep our eye on it, and hopefully we'll be opening in time for nice summer weather.
Okay, all right. And speaking of summer weather, or at least spring weather, it's time for brush pickup and spring yard cleanup, and that continues through May 15th. What else do people need to know? Well,
there are a few little things that we do. Right now, we'll pick it up if you leave it out by 7 a.m. on your garbage day. You get your brush and yard waste placed on the terrace for pickup, like I said, by 7 a.m. There's restrictions on how big it should be. The brush shouldn't be more than 4 feet long, and keep it under 3 inches in diameter. Tie it up and bundled and less than 50 pounds because our folks are picking that all up. Yard waste you can put in biodegradable bags, but no grass, dirt, root balls, or stumps. So those are things you can do. If that doesn't meet your schedule, if you're more of a weekend warrior like me and then you have it on a Sunday and you want to get rid of it, you can still take your yard waste to our drop-off center over on 3rd Avenue if you miss a pickup. You can get the permit at Kits and File. They're still an essential business and they're opened. And you can still get the permit application from our city website, and you could also mail it in to us and we'll mail you one back. But if you want instant gratification, Kits and File is the place to go to get immediate service on that. We appreciate Kits and File helping us out on that.
Okay, very good. Well, Mark, I think that takes us through our list of topics for the first half of the show. So what we'll do here is we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back right after the break with a look at some agenda highlights from the May 12th council meeting coming up. Stay tuned. and welcome back to the City Manager's Report. I'm your host, Andy Radig, along with City Manager for the City of Oshkosh, Mark Roloff. Just a reminder, you can watch the upcoming Common Council meeting on May 12th on GovTV, and also you can listen online and watch online on the website, oshkoshmedia.org, and you can listen on the radio, Oshkosh FM 101.9. And in addition, we have also streaming capabilities for you as well. So you can have your Roku device with the Oshkosh Media app, and also on your Amazon Fire TV and Apple TV, in addition to the archives available on YouTube. So plenty of opportunities for you to catch the meeting. So the rest of the balance of the show here, we'll take a look at the Common Council agenda and some highlights coming up. So first, just a point that folks, even though with the COVID-19 situation, they're still able to submit comments to the meeting as well.
Absolutely. We're certainly, people are welcome to attend the meetings, but we're trying to discourage that. But some people still like to have the face-to-face. There's a lot of social distancing in the council chambers. Mm-hmm. You can speak to individual items if you wish, but we're recommending that for general public comment as well as individual items that you submit your comments in writing. And there's an email address. It's citymgr@ci.oshkosh.wi.us. And what we will do is we will collect those. That goes to my office. We'll distribute them to council, and we will actually read them on your behalf in the way you submitted it. So we'll be happy to do that if you can just get those to us in advance before the meeting.
Okay. And then some agenda items here. We're looking at some utility water main improvements and it looks like some redundancy capabilities.
Absolutely. We are looking at awarding a $2.4 million bid award. There's a miscellaneous utility projects throughout the city, but the one I think is most important for everybody is the one you mentioned in terms of creating what we call redundancy in our water system. Over at our water filtration plant at the end of Merritt, we have one 20-inch main going out of the building, and then we have other smaller mains. We want to upgrade another one of those to a 20-inch so that if one of them is down, we still have a good-sized 20-inch water main. If we were to have, say, a major fire or very hot day where water usage is very high, or both, we want to make sure that we have that capability. In addition, we've got some sanitary sewer and stormwater utility improvements throughout the city that we're working on. So you'll see us out there this summer doing our thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then similar to that, there's a bid being awarded for stormwater laterals, and I'm assuming this will help minimize flooding concerns.
This is a lot of localized flooding where in the past you were not able to take your sump pump or your roof drains and connect them to our stormwater system. We are developing mini storm sewer systems where you can get a lateral from your property line that goes into this mini storm sewer system and gets rid of the water. It's very popular and it's relatively inexpensive for that to get done. But we got a really good bid. Both of these projects got very good bids on in this environment. So if you're interested in getting a look at taking a look at your storm sewer system within your own house, give Public Works a call and they'll be happy to help you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. And then we're looking at some events and things coming up. We're looking at the Oshkosh Farmers Market and possibly a different type of experience this year with the Farmers Market.
It will definitely be a different experience. Farmers markets are listed as an essential service, just like grocery stores. All the fun you see with the farmers market, you're probably not going to see this type of setup or everything. It's going to be much smaller with a lot more spacing between booths and lines and markers to separate people at 6 feet. We want to make sure that we're taking care of everybody as safely as we can. The farmers market is due to start on June 6th and it'll run all the way through October. Hopefully by the end of the farmers market season, things will be a little more the way we're used to seeing it, like I saw in the video. But we have to think about safety, and the farmers market committee is working very hard to to make it a good shopping experience, but also a safe shopping experience. So look for details, look at the Farmers Market website, and you'll be getting more information as things get closer to that date.
Okay, and then we have some more special events coming up, including a baseball youth tournament, Life Fest, and a fishing tournament. And Mark, how will these things be adjusted, giving consideration to the pandemic that's happening?
We're very aware that we have to be very safe, and I think all the event organizers recognize that as well. What we're doing is we're giving them approval for these events with the caveat that should rules not allow these events, we reserve the right to cancel them. And these organizations understand that, but if they're going to have any chance of success, they got to get working on it now, and then we can look as time gets closer. If we have to make any adjustments, we will make those adjustments. And I think we're going to see a lot of that, figuring out how we're going to adjust over the course of the summer. So first thing to do is get the permit approved, then we'll work with them on the details.
And then we have an item, reduction of beverage license fees.
That is something that Council discussed with us very early on in the pandemic emergency. One of the first things that got closed were the taverns and bars, and they paid a liquor license for the entire year. Obviously, they're not taking advantage of that full year because they're prohibited from doing so. What we proposed and what Council is voting on is to take all the fees to the state minimum. We're currently at the state maximum. It's not a lot, it's only a few $100s at most, but I think it's something just showing some solidarity with the businesses who are being negatively impacted. We're going to lose about $70,000 on this, but I think it's the least we can do to extend a courtesy to our businesses who definitely are suffering, and we want to try to minimize as much hurt on them as possible.
Okay, very good. Next item, we're looking at the purchase of some Riverwalk bollards. Okay, first of all, I have no idea what a bollard is. If you can tell me a little bit about what that is.
Well, fortunately, our Oshkosh media folks have some good footage of these. Bollards are those little light posts that are about, they're probably about waist high. These are the ones from down by the Riverwalk, down near Marion Road. So what they do is they just light the path in the evening hours, and we want to get those not only down by the Riverwalk downtown, but also out by the Oshkosh Corporation in the Lakeshore Park area. So we got some good bids on this, and we've got some savings in other projects that we're going to move some money over to get these bollards done in this area. You can kind of get an idea of what it's looking like right now, and so we're happy to do this.
And how's that project going? Sounds like it's going pretty well.
It is going really well. The only thing that's holding it up is there is a bridge that's on back order that is connecting the Oshkosh Corporation property with the Tribal Heritage Trail, the one that goes over Highway 41.
Okay.
We're still a few weeks away from getting that, but once that bridge gets done and then the bollards are done, we're pretty much going to be done, and people will be able to use it on a regular basis. And I can't wait. Connecting Rainbow Park with the Tribal Heritage Trail is something that I've been looking forward to. So I'm excited about this.
I think a lot of people have been looking forward to that. That's great. Next item, this has something to do with the food co-op, is that right?
Well, this is Marion Road, and Merge Development is a group out of Iowa that received the proposal award to develop there. Merge is asked to shuffle the order in which some of these projects are done, and with things going on with the way the economy is, to give them a little more time to do it. They're still providing all three phases of this project, but the first phase is going to be the co-op, and so there are a lot of people who are excited about that. What we did was we added a little provision in there because we wanted to make sure that there was a disincentive if they did not complete all three phases of the project as the agreement states. So there's actually a reduction in the amount that they'll be reimbursed under the pay-as-you-go agreement. Even if they generate the taxes, if they don't generate the taxes on all three phases, then they're going to get a lesser percentage. So the incentive will then be to get all three done as they said they would. So we figured that was a good trade-off, and we're happy to get that done.
Okay, very good. So that project is moving along as well. That's exciting. So then we also have, relating to elections, this is a follow-up from the last election that happened.
Yeah, we're asking the United States Postal Service to explain to us what happened to a bunch of ballots that our city clerk's office mailed out, but our residents never received. And we didn't find out. We'd asked them about 10 days before the election. Our folks are complaining that they're not getting their ballots. What's wrong? And they kept insisting nothing was wrong. And then the day after the election, we didn't even get a call from the Postal Service. We got a call from the Wisconsin Elections Commission saying, oh, it sounds like the Postal Service found a bunch of your ballots, with no explanation to this date. Basically what the council's saying is, would you at least give us the courtesy of a response as to what happened with those? And then in turn, the November election's coming up, the August primary's coming up. How are we going to ensure, how's the Postal Service going to ensure that when we give them ballots to mail, that they get delivered? So I think it's only fair that they provide us that answer.
And then we have another item that is related as well to absentee ballots. Is that related to the previous item somewhat?
Well, it is, because we still believe that mail-in voting is a good alternative to prevent people from going to the polls and doing too much social interaction. So the council members are discussing about whether or not they want to mail an application for a ballot to every registered voter in the city. That's what the council is going to consider. There is a cost consideration, so they have to consider that. Part of the reason we went to the Postal Service is we want to know if we're going to invest a lot of money mailing these things out, that we're going to get some return. So we want a good turnout. That's why we did it in the spring election. We thought it would be successful. And even though we had the problems with the Postal Service, it was still very successful because the community really wanted this. So we're trying to extend that courtesy to them, and hopefully we'll get that response from them.
And just to clarify, this is not for absentee ballots to be mailed to folks. This is a request form for an absentee ballot.
Correct. We cannot mail a ballot without that person saying, I want a ballot. So this just sends them the application and says, will you please send me a ballot, and then we'll take care of it.
Okay, very good, very good. And then our final item that we have today is talking about property tax relief.
Well, this also has to do with COVID-19 and whatnot. And the issue was the state legislature had passed a law that said cities can waive tax penalties and interest after the July 31st deadline and for the May 31st deadline for taxes if you're on the installment plan. But you need your county board to approve it. The County Personnel and Finance Committee this morning decided that they did not want to do this. So it's required that the county approve that. I was disappointed the county didn't do it, but they end up holding the bag a little bit on this, and I think that was their concern. I still think it would have been a nice courtesy, just like all the things we talked about over the course of the program today. But I'm going to be reporting back to council and letting them know that it's not going to go anywhere with the county, and we're disappointed in that. But I want the residents to know if they ask if they can get an extension or can we waive penalties and interest. Well, we can't do that because we don't have the permission from our local county. So that's pretty much that issue in a nutshell.
Okay, well, very good. I think that's about all that we have to talk about today. And Mark, thanks for helping me through my first show. You're very gracious.
Oh no, we're going to have a lot of fun, Andy.
I'm looking forward to many more episodes. So that's great. Again, the next Common Council meeting is on Tuesday, May 12th at 6 p.m. And you can watch that live on GovTV and also on our website, oshkoshmedia.org. Or you can listen to it on Oshkosh FM 101.9, which is also online, and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. Be sure to like Oshkosh Media on Facebook or follow us on Twitter for the City of Oshkosh news and information, and also for Oshkosh Media programming updates. You can also follow our YouTube channel for government meeting archives and the full library of Oshkosh Media programming. You can also stream us on various devices. And thanks again for watching the City's Manager's Report, and we'll be back again in 2 weeks with another new program. Take care, everyone.